so that anyone who is not able to join us will be able to watch the recording a little bit later. But as you're signing in, go ahead in the chat box, let us know what you'd like to learn during today's training. Dealing with students who are fearful or uncomfortable outside. Great observation, and we'll be talking about that. Just learning more about the outdoor spaces. You are in the right place. It's a 5-part series. So if we don't get to it today, we will get to it in the next 4 sessions. Mohammed, you'd like to know as many outdoor classroom best practices as possible. We're going to get a lot in today, and we're going to keep going for the next 5 trainings. So hopefully you'll feel more comfortable or know a little bit more. No worries, Jane. You are all welcome to keep your cameras on or off, whatever you're more comfortable with. But I will be going over some things that we'll be doing. So you will be, even if you're off camera, I'm going to ask you to be active. We'd like to get ideas about how to incorporate outdoor activities into ecology curriculum. We might not get to that today, Megan, but we will be talking about different curriculums in outdoor education next week. So if we don't get to it today, know that we will. New ideas and practices, great. We will be doing that today as well, Jan. And Lord, let's see, ideas for how to get out there more often. Absolutely. I'm talking about that and how to use it with your students, definitely. Catherine, integrating content with the outdoors. Again, if we don't get to that one today, we will be getting to that one next week. Fun outdoor activities that don't require much. We are going to be brainstorming some of those things today. And hopefully you'll walk away with lots of ideas. And your name is Virtual Presenter, so I'm not sure what your real name is, but Virtual Presenter 5, we'll be doing that. And Daisy, we're going to be learning about how to implement outdoor classroom in your school. Yeah, hopefully you'll get some ideas there. And space and function, Megan, yes, definitely. Not having to rely on the educators being there in person. Adapting to different types of outdoor spaces, absolutely. Alice will be going over that today. And Desire, hi, how are you doing? Ways to formulate an outdoor classroom, definitely. Convincing teachers to utilize, yep, informal environmental educators, definitely, Victoria. Lots of things going on here. Awesome. We haven't done a large amount of outdoor programming. Jen, that's fine. That's why you're here. So we're going to hopefully give you some tips and ideas. How to achieve objectives while being outside. Absolutely, Andrew. We're going to talk about that this week and a little bit next week as well, when we're talking about curriculum. Let's see, who else did I miss? Ms. Cook, alternatives for when we cannot go outside physically. Definitely we'll get that. And Leanna and Andor. Sound bites to tell parents. Yeah, definitely let's talk about parents. That'll be part of our discussion today. Microscope work outside. We'll talk about some of that in content next week. All right. How to hold socially distanced discussions about the environment outside. Definitely. We'll go through some of those things. All right, so it looks like we have a full agenda here, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. I know it's probably been a long day, a long year, a long week, and it's right before a holiday week, so I appreciate you joining us today. This training is being recorded, and we'll have it up on our website in 48 hours, so if you have any colleagues who missed it or who are interested in it, they can view it as well. I'm going to put a link in the chat. If you would like to receive a certificate of participation, attendance, we'll send one out to you via email. So go ahead and just fill in your name and your email address, and we can send that out to you within the next week. So if you're interested in that, that's there for you. All right, so you gave me a lot of things that you want to talk about today, and hopefully we will talk about all of those things and more. And if we don't, I now have all of your information and all of your questions. So we will, if we don't get to it today, we'll definitely incorporate it into the next 5 trainings or the next 4 trainings after this one. So thank you. If you don't know me, my name is Mary Westland. I am the program coordinator here at the Maryland Association for Environmental and Outdoor Education, shortly MAEOE. So hopefully you know me. If not, that's fine too. It's great to meet you. I also have Alana Kellner here helping me with some tech if I need it. So she will be in the background looking for any issues that might be occurring. So if you do have any issues, go ahead and you can private chat her if you're experiencing any of those tech issues. She'll also be helping me monitor the chat as well. So it looks like we have an active crowd here. So thank you. All right, so today we are going to be doing all these things, all the things that are here in this agenda. And our goal for you is to learn about the benefits of learning outdoors and to start making a plan to use the outdoors as a classroom. This is part 1 of a 5-part series, and we will build upon the concept over the next few weeks. So even if you can't attend, hopefully you'll be able to watch the recordings and learn as we go. And I'm going to put the link here into the box, into the chat box. These are where the training or the recordings will be located. They are hidden, so I want to let you know where they are. It's on the professional development page. So they'll be sitting right there on that page if you need to direct anyone. At the end of this training, I'm hoping that you start thinking about how you might use the outdoors as a classroom now and into the next school year as conditions permit. All right. So this will be an interactive training. So we're going to do some practicing right now. But these are the tools that we'll be using today. So chat, I'm going to be asking you to use the chat just like I did right now to share ideas and thoughts. Looks like we have about 50 people, 48 people on the call, on the webinar today or on the training today. So we want to make sure that we utilize that. We're going to be using a Jamboard as well. We have 3 different slides. So that'll be a way for you to collaborate in this larger group. So make sure that you're active and participating there. We'll also be using open discussion. So I'm going to call on you if I find some interesting comments in the chat box. I'm going to ask you to elaborate. I'll also call on volunteers, so I'm not going to call you out, but I just want to make sure that you are aware that I will be calling your name. We're going to be using a Slido poll. So as I'm talking, go ahead and see if you can log into that. You can use a different device or a different tab on your screen. So it's slido.com, and go ahead and type in hashtag 071104. All right. We'll be using that twice during this presentation, during this training. We're also going to be using Zoom reactions. So I'm going to test you right now, see if you're with me. So the Zoom reactions are in your toolbar at the bottom of the screen, and you might have to press the 3 dots, and depending on what version you have, you might have to press those 3 dots, and let's see if you have them. Give me a smiley face if you're with me and you found them. Or any reaction. Tears, thumbs up. I think that's tears and crying though. Hopefully it's not tears and sadness, Megan, right? Thumbs up, great, awesome. All right, I see a thumbs up from Lauren and Fawn and Mary. Awesome, good. Victoria, thanks for giving me that thumbs up. Who else is here with me? Lourdes, I see you. Awesome, great. Okay. And hopefully you will continue to be with me throughout. And some of you might not have the emoticons depending on the version you have, and that's okay. I will just ask you to put it in the chat. Yes, I can share the Slido numbers in the chat. Thank you. Staten for keeping me on track. That's slido.com. There we go. That's hashtag 071104. All right. And Slido number. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's get started. I think you're all ready. I think you're all excited. I can see some of your excitement in your faces. Some of them, I can feel the energy. All right, so we're going to do our first Slido poll. So what is your experience using the outdoors as a classroom and or teaching outdoors? So go ahead and sign into Slido, and the number is again 071104. And this is a live poll, so we'll see. This helps me to know my audience. Okay. About 46% regularly brought your students outside, 42 several times. Oh, there we go. We're changing, no experience. That's great. I'm glad you're here. And give it a couple more seconds. Going up and down. One more, 10 more seconds. If you haven't signed in, go ahead and sign in if you're able. Okay. All right, for those of you who are new to using the outdoors as a classroom, we hope you're going to walk away with some tips and tricks for using the outdoor classroom and feel more comfortable about using it as a place to teach, no matter what subject you teach. So you're in the right place if you have no experience. So thank you for joining us. For those of you who have a little bit more experience, we're hoping that you get new ideas to add to your toolbox for teaching outdoors. And those of you with lots of experience, I'm hoping that you're going to contribute your experience and help the newer people who aren't as used to teaching outside, and even the people with a little bit more experience. I'm hoping that you can bring some ideas and share your experiences as well, because we are all in this together. So this is a collaborative effort on everyone's part. So make sure you're sharing those experiences as well. So thanks for participating in that poll. And if you're just checking in, go ahead and you can enter your poll, and we'll keep that open for a while. So I'm going to stop here. What is the difference between Slido and Zoom chat? I can have it in my Google, and I don't have to put a poll up, so then I can record it immediately into my presentation. So when I'm alone, it's easier for me to just have it ready to go. Where can you find the features? Zara, you might not have them if it's not popping up. Those emoticons might not be there, so that is fine. You can just give me a smiley face when I ask you in the chat box. It's getting, I hope it is fun. I hope this is really going to be an online fun classroom. And I think there's a big difference between teaching my lessons outdoors versus using the outdoors as a classroom. Absolutely, Mohammed. With one, but not much of the other. And we'll talk about that. That is a great point, Mohammed. Thanks for bringing that up. How do you use Slido? Slido is an add-on in Google Slides. So if you just go into your add-ons, you can add it very simply. Thanks, Nazar. Great. And then the agenda referring to, the agenda was on the previous slide. So I can send, you'll all get this as well. You'll have access to it, but I'm gonna pop back real quick. And this is the agenda here. So that's what we're going to talk about: using the outdoors as a classroom, the benefits of learning outside, getting ready to teach outside, some group collaboration, some Q&A, and some wrap up and evaluation. So hopefully that helps you, Fawn. You good? All right, cool. All right, let's continue and let's see how we're doing. Okay. So I'd like to get your thoughts about using the outdoors as a classroom, and some of you have already started putting that in the chat, so that's great. So who would use the outdoors as a classroom? What does it mean to use the outdoors as a classroom? Where might an outdoor classroom be located at your school? Why would you use the outdoors as a classroom as opposed to using just your regular classroom? And how could you use it outdoors? There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just trying to get a feeling for what you think using the outdoors as a classroom means. So share your thoughts in the chat box for me. Okay. So you have Maryland naturalists to work with kids in Maryland County parks or Montgomery County parks. Real world applications, Megan, yes, definitely. Class concepts, opportunities for hands-on investigations. You are all experts. You saw this slide deck beforehand. Real life hands-on learning, Megan. The outdoors for observing the environment, organisms, interactions, MAEOEs. Thanks. Bosch, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, but thank you. Ms. Cook, experiential learning that uses the environmental as a resource. School gardens. Thanks. Teach kids how to use nature for wellness. Definitely echo. Showing kids that outdoors is important. So many ideas here. Anybody want to elaborate? I have 19 of these. This is awesome. And this chat will also be saved in the recording, so you can look at this, providing students with authentic learning experiences. Who would like to come off mute and talk a little bit about their experience? Go ahead, Fawn.
So our preschool, we and the church that is part of it as a big group, the church sponsors the preschool, but they are indeed really large and very successful. Churchville, Presbyterian in Hartford. We have a new butterfly garden, and it's a teaching garden. And that means that the kinds of things I'm learning today, I am directly applying to curriculum that we're going to be writing up for this fall and for the summer camps. And I just love it. Thank you.
That's great. So yours is a unique space. It's a curriculum spot. You have plans for it already. That's
right.
Awesome.
I took the Growing Up Wild that was online last June, and I am a park naturalist with over 4 decades. Well, I shouldn't say how old I am, but 4 decades of experience. And it's just an amazing thing because we are a green congregation certified by the National Presbyterian USA, and we're associated with Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake. So we're hosting an EcoFest June 6th, which is just going to be amazing. And we have a pollinators garden, and we've got so many people coming, Lions for the Bay, Interfaith, we've got Anita Sea Light Estuary Center. We've got all these nature power players that want to come to our site because we're really the only, I think in Hartford County, we're the only certified ECC congregation. So that means that our preschool is rated one of the top 3 in Hartford. And it's because we have a great director, we have great teachers, but we just have a great site. And so my role is what you can guess. I'm the park naturalist that's also teaching scripture and outdoor teaching on the spot. We walk out, we're going to do it, we move on. And it's so exciting. I'm just like feeling like I was about 18-year-old right now. That's why I didn't want to say my age.
That's awesome. And you actually touched upon some of those points, that easy access to the site, community buy-in, probably parent buy-in, and we're going to be talking about that. So you know, those are all things that I'm going to reveal a list here in a minute, but I'd love to hear from another person. Let me know your experiences. Are there slides that I should be seeing? Yes. Can everybody see my slides or no?
It's kind of hard to manipulate the pictures and the chat and see your slide.
Gotcha.
Can I share?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So my name is Andrea Shank, and I'm right now in Southwest Academy Middle School, about ready to move to Perry Hall High School, teaching biology or systems, whatever they call it now, and with a special ed, self-contained special ed population. So I'm looking for things that would enrich the classroom. But I've worked with Baltimore Ecosystem Study, and they wrote some great curriculum. If you guys ever want to log into their site. I've done, we went to an island in the Smith Island, one of the Smith Islands. And I mean, and now their island that they have all that camp stuff on is closed. But because of global warming and increasing in sea level. But in my classroom, I've counted, like we did a tree inventory in our schoolyard, and we used math systems mathematical formulas to figure out what ratio we should have in order to be healthy to produce enough CO2. And we really pulled in the math into it. And I've also done tree plantings and macroinvertebrate studies.
That's awesome.
And then studying them over time, over the entire school year, is really cool to see how they change from fall to spring. And
go ahead.
And then taking a photo diary of it. Like every time we go out, the kids created a PowerPoint. We presented it to the local governments to try and get them to mitigate the garbage that was ending up in the stream that we were studying. So
you've integrated math, science, arts with the photo diary, probably a little bit of language arts too, if they were writing about that.
They were.
And just from those two verbal examples, you've all hit on these 5-6 things that make using the outdoor classrooms viable and relatable. So, and it's an interactive place of discovery that engages with all curriculum areas. It's easy to access. It's a defined learning space. It brings the natural world into students' daily lives and into your lives. I'm not sure if anyone mentioned that fresh air component.
But I was struggling with how to relate it, because I struggled when I taught biology. It was all like, oh, they got to pass the test. They got to pass the test. And we couldn't take them out until we got to the ecology unit at the end of the year, or after we were done HSA stuff. And now but it doesn't really, it doesn't really fit. And we have to get them to pass this stupid test.
There's always that testing component. And we're going to talk about that in next week's when we're talking about curriculum. But we'll talk about it a little bit today about having a clear objective for why you're going outside, so that you can present it to your administration and they know how it relates exactly to the lesson and to the test. So we want to make sure that we know why we're going outside. We're not just going outside. Yes. And health is being, is being outdoors. This is important. And we've learned this year a little bit. It brings, it's a uniquely designed space. Each of your schools, each of your situations is unique. So what works for one person may not work for another person. So you have to keep that in mind. But we're here to brainstorm and think about all those barriers and some of those successes. So we'll definitely talk about some of those things that you're up against over the next hour. All right. So this is an infographic from the Children in Nature Networks, and it sums up the benefits of taking outdoors very nicely. So just take a look at it. There have been studies showing that academic performance can improve student attention. It can increase their engagement and their enthusiasm. So when we're talking to our administrators and we're planning with our teams and our great partners, we want to think about, that academic performance could be boosted. So, we're teaching to the test no matter what. There's always that test component that we're thinking about. But we want to remember that, being outside is going to hopefully improve some of those test scores and get the students more interested in what they're doing. So they're not always learning from a book. They're actually getting those hands-on experiences. their focus is increasing when they're outside. So when we're thinking about and planning for outdoor learning, we have to integrate those into our lessons and that reasoning so that we're not questioned as we're going outside. And it's also been shown to behave, to improve behaviors within the students. And hopefully there are fewer discipline problems as the students get used to being outside. All right, so just talked about a lot of different things, and there's lots of things to consider when we're teaching outside, right? So there's new routines, there's additional time, there's new habits for the outdoor environment. There's new materials, there's new stimuli, there's new space, and there's managing preconceived notions about being outside. And a few of you have already mentioned not liking being outside. How do we get outside? What are we doing, outside when we get there? So you're all on the right track. You all have the right questions. So if you can give me a thumbs up or a green check or some sort of indication in the chat box that you're with me and that have you thought about these things? Are you stressed about these things? Have you questioned these things? Are you like, how are we going to do this? So in the chat box or on your screen. Great, green check, thumbs up. Yep. So you're all here for that same reason, right? Thank you for those green checks, Joanna. Amber, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, you're all with me. Great. What other messages do we have here? Worry about what parents will say, even though I know the time is worth it. Definitely. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I did these things as my profession as a park naturalist. So definitely fun. You want to contribute to the conversations on how you're teaching outside. Is always a component that I struggle with. Yeah, the additional time. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. It's definitely an issue. Like, how do I get my kids outside? How do I, transfer from one building to a next? I have 40 minutes and I need to teach a lesson. So we're going to talk about that. Things I need to approach. Yeah, definitely. Jan, you're gonna jump in, right? Sounds like you are. I know it's things that we have to think about, but it's definitely something that we can do. Moving away from digital learning. Yeah, definitely. Don't we all want to get away from Zoom? But I do appreciate you all being here on Zoom today. So yeah, looking forward to it. Definitely. That social emotional learning is so important to integrate into what you're doing. Thanks, Ms. Cook. A new material for sure. All right, so I'm going to put you to work right now. Well, actually in a minute. We're going to break it down a bit. All right, there are 3 things that I want you to think about. You want to develop routines. Okay. So what does that mean? When you start a new school year, you're developing new routines with your students, right? You're going to use that same skill set that you have for developing those routines at the start of the year, the middle of the year, and at the end of the year. And you're going to use those to help you get your students and yourself outside for that outdoor learning. This could be posting rules or, knowing what space you have to use ahead of time, how to access it, how you're going to get there, and how long does it take. So you're going to time it. And signals, okay? Coming together, emergency signals, going back outside. The second thing is being prepared. You don't want to just go outside. Don't leave your classroom tomorrow without a plan. So you want to make sure that you have a clear objective, know why you're going outside and write it into your lesson plan. Those goals, those objectives, those evaluations. Why are you going outside? You also need a backup plan. If it doesn't work, make sure that when you get back into the classroom, you can continue that lesson. There might be weather impacting your day. It might be student behaviors. Anything could happen, but make sure you have a backup plan written into your plan. You also want to tell parents. So I saw a few messages here about parents and them not understanding why you're going outside. Get that buy-in, as Fawn was talking about, giving students and parents that fair warning. Let them know ahead of time that you're going to be using the outdoors, let them know what you're going to be doing, and ask them to be prepared. You know, if they're able to have appropriate clothing, what is appropriate clothing? Lay that all out for the students and the parents, and talk to the students about that. What does it mean if we're going outside? Prepare them. You want to consider safety too. So you want to have that first aid kit. You want to check if your students have any allergies. Make sure that you have any, you know, EpiPens or anything that you need with you as you're going outside. Talk to the school nurse. Check the weather, check the air quality alerts for the day. For students who have asthma, it could be difficult for them to go outside. So make sure that you're doing all that planning ahead of time. And that's part of your backup plan. If it's a bad air quality day, then you can't go outside. Also, yes, sunblock. Thank you. Definitely need sunblock, and talking about that. So anything that you are thinking that you would need, you're gonna plan ahead of time and bring it with you. And Kanika, you're talking about, and I think this is a direct message, so not everybody might see it, about managing classroom behavior. Yes, so that is a great segue into building success. So first, you want to talk to your students. Don't just say we're going outside. You want to plan with your students, just like you would plan class rules or class protocols. Talk to your students about what your expectations are outside, what they expect to see outside. So, you know, different schools have different noises: fire trucks, ambulances, bees, squirrels, just, you know, bugs. You know, what are they going to expect to see? What are those noises that they're going to have to react to? Because it's going to be a little bit different than in the classroom. And start with short trips. If your students aren't used to going outside, if you aren't used to being outside either, do small, short trips. Don't do it all at once. You know that a short trip is going to help you build stamina, help your students build stamina. And that way it's easier as the year goes on, as you progress with teaching outside. It gets easier, because then the students understand that there's a purpose and a reason for being outside. And talk about, like, in the classroom, you have expectations for noise. It's going to be a little louder outside. So talk about what your expectations are. Communicate that you believe in them and that you believe in yourself about learning outside. So those are all things to consider as you're going outside. It's a lot of information. And I see a couple people adding some things to add. Sunblock, these are that appropriate clothing, making sure that your students are prepared. Sunblock, water bottles, bandanas, absolutely. Anything to ward off ticks. All things to consider depending on where you are. And now it's time for you to start working. I'm going to put a link to a Jamboard, and you're going to think about all these in your personal situation. So, and I want you to get some ideas from other people as well. So here's the Jamboard link. And see if you can open that. And in each column, I want you to brainstorm together. So what routines need to be developed? What preparation would you need to do? And how would you build success with your students? The information to the Jamboard so that we have it. It says too many people in, so that's fine. Looks like we might have hit capacity, which I wasn't expecting, because we should be able to have 50 in. But go ahead and add it to the chat box, and we will punch from there. And Alana, if you can grab those and add them to the Jamboard, that'd be great.
Got it.
Thank you.
Doing that now.
All right. Lots of ideas. And if you're finishing up, go ahead and exit that, and then maybe some others can get in as well. And we'll just kind of punt with that. All right, let's see what we have here. I'll give you a couple more minutes. Too many people. All right, keep putting it in the chat box and we'll record it for you.
Oh. Is it going in the chat? Is it going in the chat box and then it shows up on this, or are we in it?
Only if you're in it, it's going right on the board. If you aren't able to get in it, go ahead and put it in the chat box. Some people, it looks like we've hit capacity. I thought we were at 50,
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I was like, this is getting totally filled up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do that, but I would have liked to have next time.
All right, so let's talk about some of these things, and we'll fix this for the next session so that we don't get as filled. So what routines would you need to develop? So definite rules before getting out there. If you would like to come off mute, and if you wrote that, what rules would you put in place? What's one rule that you would put in place?
One rule. I think the last time I took people on younger kids on a walk in the forest with the nature hike, that's what happened. They just took off. So we would maybe have a place where they could get their energy out, and then we would talk about not disturbing the wildlife and being quiet and listening to the nature. And that was my problem, my challenge. Okay,
so setting those expectations, letting the kids get their wiggles out, and knowing that, knowing what to expect when they're outside, and so that they don't run off. Did you have a signal? Does anybody have a signal for when that happens?
I didn't have a signal.
No, that's fine. I'm just wondering if anyone else has any experiences with that. So it's definitely good that you were learning from that. How about other rules?
In the Chesapeake Bay Foundation and being on the water with kayaks and boats, I'm certified for that and leading groups. And, there's required things like a whistle that's just attached to your PFD. So when you're on a hike, you can also follow through on that, a whistle maybe for each kid if you're thinking of doing hiking with older kids, and things that would be, you might say, wilderness experience, adventure, safety. That's something that you would definitely want to look into if you're thinking of going out there. And a drill. I noticed someone's written drill.
Yeah, so same thing when I worked for the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We actually had a duck call that we used.
Nice.
And then we, before we got on the water on canoes, or in boats, we always did a lot of safety and talked about all the different, things that we needed them to understand and know what to do.
And you're going back to those things of preparing your students. So you had a specific call, even though you were on the water. If teachers, educators were taking their students out in the classroom, they could have a specific call, a duck whistle, a whistle. Actually practicing that before you go out, before there is an emergency, before you do have to call them back. So actually just practicing those things. I'm going to pick out one.
I wanted to add just one quick thing for those who don't have a whistle. I worked not in the capacity of outdoors, but I worked with preschoolers, so I can relate to the running in a million directions away from you. And like other people had said, we played games where they could run away, but they still had to hear me while I was singing. So if they couldn't hear me anymore, that was their cue to come back. And that kind of trained them to know how far I can go away from my teacher. And then we had a specific call for that means like, stop what you're doing, come back right away. And that worked without a whistle. It was, I'm sure you could use it with older kids too.
Yeah.
So
I like that. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Great. Let's see. Parameters for the outdoor classroom. If you'd like to come off mute, what have you done? I have a few ideas, but I'd love to hear what you've done. I'm not sure who wrote it, so I'm just gonna, hopefully someone will come off mute and share.
I'm sorry, you were asking, I missed.
Setting, if that's okay. Setting up some parameters for the outdoor classroom.
Well,
So how do
we
you do
have
that?
we have I didn't write that one, but we have an enclosed courtyard in our elementary school, but I've created as our outdoor classroom. So we have different areas with different habitats, and we also have a pond. So we have, variety of rules on what activities you can do out there. You're not jumping around on the rocks. We have all the safety things, and then just how we show respect for the living creatures that live there. So we have, a set of parameters on, behaviors that are suitable for the garden, and ones that aren't, because we have classrooms that surround it as well with their windows. So not a lot of loud, behaviors. So we set up, a variety of expectations for safety and, respect for nature and respect for other classes.
I like that. So you're thinking about others as well. You're thinking about those boundaries, and that respect is important. Any other ideas for setting those parameters for being in the outdoor classroom? Boundaries, as Sarah mentioned. How would you set up boundaries if you don't know for sure? Bengen?
I think too, just reminding them that it is a classroom, right? So behaviors that and expectations that are in your classroom building transfer outside as well.
Absolutely. It is a classroom, and that's preparing the students. That's part of that preparation. This is not, it's a place of learning. And that was one of the key points that we brought up at the beginning of the discussion, right? Anybody use cones if they don't have a specific place or anything like that? Any other boundary setting? Ropes, cones, marking it off, things like that. Those are ways of setting those parameters around the outdoor classroom.
Use like natural, trees, sidewalk, things like that to mark where they can go. I'm just thinking of ours, it's enclosed, so it's easy for that. But
absolutely,
it has a lot of space you can use. If you don't have cones or something, you could just say like mark a tree, and repetition will help them remember that.
That's great. And then showing them either pictures or having them, taking them through a walk before they even go outside, showing them, what the outdoor classroom looks like, doing that preparation ahead of time. Our classes are in a barn or a garden. I hike through the woods. Nice, Ashley. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because that would require some preparation. So how do you get them ready for a hike?
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you just said? I caught the tail end of it. I have a bunch of children in my backyard.
I gotcha. I kind of figured that something was going on. How do you prepare students to go for a hike, or how are you preparing students to get outside? So that's on to our next question. What preparation would you need to do?
We let the kids know ahead of time what they should dress like for weather, and also boots. If they're walking around a barnyard, there's a lot of cow pies that they might not want to get. And you would be surprised how many of them wear the really nice sneakers regardless. And for myself, I always carry a bag that's always packed with certain first aid supplies and other things that I know that we'll need. They stay packed with those things every time, so it's just kind of easy.
Nice. I like that. And I'm looking at here a brochure, a visual to explain expectations to students and families. Would anyone like to expand on that?
Hi, I said
Hi.
that I work at a school with 100% English language learners.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely are going to have to translate some different things. And so we're going to need the visual aspect.
Nice. Do you have a plan for that? Have you started that or?
No, we're going to, we work 12 months. So we're going to be planning for that over this summer.
Great. That's a great plan. I like that idea. That brochure is getting that family buy-in as well, that parent buy-in and the student buy-in as well.
I work with a special needs population, and I'm planning on getting not lanyards, but assigning a educator job. So then, and they're going to wear a thing, like you can't see my chest, but like copy on a little chart thing with strings around their neck, so they know if they forget why they're out there, they can go, "What are you doing?" and they can hold it up and look at it. I mean, you would think that they would remember that, but some of them can't. So,
you know, and I think that's a great idea that actually leads to building the success for the students. You know, like how are you going to have them make them be successful? And that lanyard is going to be, you know, one of those key points. And what else could you do to help students be successful? We've had lanyards. We have slowly permitting access to different areas of outdoor space. How might that lead to your student successes? And Andrea shared her preparation, how she's preparing her students.
Yeah, so I was the one that wrote that.
Yeah.
I'm a PE teacher in Baltimore City and health teacher, and I'm a co-chair of the Green Team. And we just got, well, we will be having an outdoor classroom space that's currently under construction, and it's essentially open to the public and, you know, all the kids, like during recess, they'll have full access to it. But I think for me, besides getting my staff ready by taking everything I learned here and sort of applying it to a training for them so that they can make sure they apply these types of, you know, rules and procedures with their students, so that I don't have to do it with every single class. I think just breaking things down, like, okay, we're allowed to go this far, and like we're not going to go past like where you see that tree right there, like everyone was saying, just giving certain you know, checkpoints or markers. You know, we're not going to go past that, or we're not going to step our feet in here. And then just using the time that I have in some of my classes to be able to really influence, like, or just tell them, you know, this is why we're not going in this space, and this is why you do have access, and this is how we need to respect it, and doing that sort of piece by piece until we can sort of open it up, or until they sort of demonstrate without me telling them that they can be autonomous in this space, and sort of self-regulate themselves, and, oh, get out of the sandpit, you're not supposed to be in there. Just all of that.
Right. And I like how you mentioned that you're training other teachers, that you aren't the only one, that you're getting a group of teachers together to support you and to support that new school culture of being outside. So that's great. And getting those kids ready is vital to that success. And Megan, you're saying that you put up a sign with one of the rules, have as much fun as you can, because I've seen fun on here a couple of times, fun, enjoyment. So how is that working? What have you done? How did the students react to that?
So it's worked out really well for us. And I think, well, not just kids, but all of us, once you get past 5 rules, like it's rule 6 through 24 may as well not exist.
Exactly.
And the other thing is we've gotten into some really great discussions, critical thinking about, well, so normally in a conventional setting, you would see no throwing rocks. Well, instead, we just have this is our only rule. And so then the kids are like, well, can I throw a rock? And And so then you have to think through, well, why wouldn't you throw a rock? Well, you can throw a rock as long as you throw it where no one's going to get hurt, nothing's going to get broken. And so it gets to the root of why we have rules, and then they're working on deeper level understanding.
And I love that, going back to that Children in Nature's Network, where they're talking about engaging students in critical thinking. You're actually doing that by just implementing one rule. And now they really have to think about, is this what needs to be done? And is that, and that goes to those SEL skills, that goes to those testing skills, that critical thinking that can be tied into many of our lessons that we do. It's great. All right, we're going to stop there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we're going to go back. Let's see. Anyone else want to share one more thought before we continue? Anything?
I have one more thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think when you were talking, the last person was talking, I'm sorry, I couldn't see your face, but you know, to pose a question to them and say, if the environment was a person, would you throw a rock at them? You know, like make the environment like a real thing, a living something that they can really relate to, so they don't go out there and go, I'm gonna tear that up because I want to. You know, like, would you tear up your friend's t-shirt because you wanted to?
Right, and it makes it real for them.
I can respond really quickly to that. I have to try and keep a balance, because oftentimes, you know, I work in a conservancy, and so I have kids that come out either as part of a class or homeschoolers. And so oftentimes I kind of have to do some deprogramming, because they've been so conditioned to not touch anything, and that nature is fragile. And so I kind of have to say it is okay to throw, like, I feel like kids will not, it's a tricky subject. I don't have all the answers. So I don't know what to do, but I hesitate to go ahead and kind of clamp down on their boisterousness, you know, going out and pulling a leaf off a tree. I do have the rule. I wouldn't say it's a real rule, but I tend to say, don't kill it if you're not going to eat it. Just to kind of set the tone for we can use things from the environment, but just recklessly pulling things down is not awesome or allowed.
And that goes back to that unique. Every classroom is unique. Every school is unique. Every situation is unique. So you have to look at your students and what's going to work for them, and how are they going to react to that. And that's part of that planning with the students as well. You know, including them into that conversation, especially if it's a classroom. They're not visiting you, as Megan said, that they're not coming, you know, probably once or twice they're visiting, but you're using that outdoor classroom or the outdoors for learning more than once. So you want to look at that and prepare them, prepare with your students. All right, there's more to think about. And the next thing to think about, and we're going to do the same thing with the Jamboard. So if you are in and you'd like to switch out to the chat, if we can cooperate in that way, let some people who weren't in the Jamboard the last time go ahead and do the Jamboard. We've talked about some of this already, some barriers that you are imagining right now. If you've done this before, you know some of the barriers. If you haven't done this, what are you imagining? What's your worst nightmare? But we also want to focus on those successes that we've seen and we've heard and we've experienced. So we want to do both. You know, what are some of those barriers and what are some of those successes that you've seen? And let's get some of those ideas down there too as well. So if you are in the Jamboard already, you want to switch out to the chat. Alana can copy and paste yours into the Jamboard for you. And we'll get some of these ideas on the board.
Got it.
Thanks, Alana. You have allergies, yes. I hear you. I've got those allergies going now too. Building a nature play space. Yeah. I'm going to share my screen as that's going up because no one else can see it except me. There we go. Yes, I can resend the Jamboard. Let me grab that link. Actually, just grab this link.
Mary, I got it.
Oh, thanks. No problem, Alice. Switching from phones to computers, we're all doing 14 different devices probably every day. We're all tech wizards, or at least more tech wizards than we were a year ago, right? I love that you mentioned cicadas, Echo. It's coming up a lot lately. I have not seen one cicada, by the way. Yeah, in Baltimore. I don't know. Joanna, I know you're on this call. You're in Baltimore. There's a couple other people who are in Baltimore City. Have you seen cicadas? Maybe it's just where I'm going.
There are a lot in the parks.
Really? Maybe I need to get to the park. I haven't done that in a while. So Mohammed, you gave me the thumbs up. All right, it's my goal this week to go to the park and see the cicadas so that next week I can say, I saw cicadas. Cicada safari, that is awesome. Give me a couple more minutes about the imaginings, what you're imagining and what success is. And for those imaginings, we're seeing some of those things that we talked about, those expectations for being outside and overcoming some of those fears. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to let you keep typing without me talking. Alice, is there a cicada safari link that you can share?
I can share one. It's an app, but my kids love it.
That's awesome. The research project by Mount St. Joseph. See, this is why we're here. We get all kind of different resources. Community using the space irresponsibly, not picking up after dogs, definitely. Have you done anything about, how do you handle that, Mohammed? If you're out and you're using the park and there's a lot of dog poop.
Well, the issue right now is like, because the space still isn't open yet, I'm just sort of anticipating based on like how the small amount of green space that we do have right now is used. And it's when, you know, I'm in school now, and what it typically is, you know, I just like every 15 to 20 minutes or so, I like glance outside and I see someone walking their dog, and if I see them like pick up, I'm like, thank you so much. And there's no sarcasm at all. But then if they don't, then it's like hyper sarcastic. And then I need to like draw them in to have a conversation when I have a class, but like, I just can't let it go unchecked.
No. I wonder if there's a way to put up a thank you sign with your, you know, thanks for picking up after your dogs.
And we've tried to put up signs, and like there's a big issue with vandalism with younger kids like in the neighborhood that, you know, take things down, kids that I haven't taught. and haven't been able to like grill them on. So it's an ongoing issue.
Definitely a barrier. Something that we all need to think about. All right, so let's take a look at some of these barriers. So we have the sensory overload. Students are afraid of bugs and snakes. What have some, I know some of you deal with bugs and snakes and animals, and I don't want to call you out, but I'm going to. Echo? How do you deal with fear of animals? What are some of the tools and things that you use?
Some of the things we do is just show that we're not afraid and that we put it in a positive and not try and push it on them. We let them gradually get used to it until they come to us.
So modeling that behavior and modeling how to react to an animal.
Yeah, I have a similar experience. Just a lot of kids, when I'm taking them out in the garden, like even just today with the cicadas, there were several that were just like, Miss Preston, I don't want to touch it. And it's like, okay, you don't have to touch it. You can just look at it. And they see the other kids touching it that are comfortable and picking it up. And so they'll come. It's my experience has been, just to, allow them to experience it the way they feel most comfortable, but inevitably they want to be doing what the other kids are doing. So they'll come to you and say, so can you hold it and I'll touch it? So you do the stages, and then, you hold it, I'll touch it. Okay. You put it in my hand, but make sure you're near it. So if I freak out, you can grab, so I've had kids with worms and every kind of critter, we do that real slow kind of putting your toes in the cold water, method. And 9 times out of 10, that kid ends up holding it and has it crawling all over them and they're happy. So
and
just
acknowledging
about
that
and slowing down and allowing them to have that space where they're frightened and acknowledging that, and then letting them know that they don't have to do anything. They can experience it the way they want to, but then once they see other kids, they usually want to jump in. So I've always found that to work really well.
And just accepting that, okay, that's totally okay, that you do not want to touch this insect, this animal or leaf or whatever it is. It's okay that you don't want to do this. And I like how you said the stages, and then that they get used to it, they get comfortable, they see other kids doing it. It's not gonna harm them. So making sure that the students know that whatever you're doing is not harmful. How about teachers? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I like to get the kids to encourage each other, almost like they're chanting sometimes. Like I've had some kids that are like, I say, I tell kids that it's cool if they don't want to hold it, they don't want to try it, but I tell them that I think that they are strong enough to do it, and the other kids, and I'll tell the other kids, I said, come on guys, like chant with her, tell so-and-so that she can do it, and they'll go, you got it, you can do it. And I've literally heard them chanting, and she's like laughing, and then she's like, okay, I'll do it, and then everybody starts laughing, and it's usually almost always ends up being like really cute. But I just tell them, like, encourage each other, and they like that. And like the other person was saying, like, once all the other kids start doing it, they totally want to get in on that most of the time.
Right. It's that team building. It was good because you were saying, and you empower your students. The students are becoming leaders. It's that social emotional skills of cooperation and understanding and understanding other students, how they're feeling at that time, and just acceptance. So that's awesome. My next question is for teachers. How about if you aren't comfortable teaching outside? What have you done? How are you handling it? What are your imagined barriers? Not just for the students, but for the teachers here who are like, nope, not doing it.
So I just wanted to chime in to the conversation from a perspective for some different races. We have in certain races colorism issues where some students don't like to go outside because they don't want to get dark. So that's you know, that's a big issue that no one really talks about.
I'm glad you brought that up. And you've had discussions about that? You've brought that up before?
I'm gonna put myself into it because I'm not worried about getting dark. It's just that, like, I have hyperpigmentation, and the sun and hyperpigmentation don't mix. So I have always preferred not to go outside because I don't want to have marks on my face. You know, an old pimple, for example, if I go outside, the mark is gonna get darker.
And that is something definitely to acknowledge and to be aware of. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you. Any other issues that we haven't brought up that should be brought up for not going outside?
I think for me, I'm very worried about the actual like work. Like at a certain point, you do need, I work with high schoolers. I do need my students to produce something. I can't just always be, we go outside to connect with nature, which I'm deeply fond of and do myself. But I'm concerned, how do you find that balance? Because a lot of my high schoolers don't go outside ever. So being outside meaningfully, it's gonna, like, then, like, how do you get them to like write something, video something, like produce content that's academic? I'm trying to like wrestle with that in my head.
They could do an interpretation of something. Like one of my things for Maryland Naturalists is I'm supposed to do a 5-minute interpretive talk about chestnut oak. And you could grade them on how they do that, teach them how to do it, and then grade them on their verbal performance. And kids like to perform, so sometimes that can go over big.
Yes, great suggestion. And that's definitely something, you know, we're going to talk about that next week, is that curriculum and those objectives, and how do you get the students to perform outside. And any other suggestions?
I know I've done with our 4th grade here in the elementary school that I teach in, when we have our Chesapeake Bay unit, and we're looking at our schoolyard footprint and where, you know, the storm drains and, you know, all of our runoff, and looking at how that's impacting the local creeks. So we do a series of days of going out and analyzing our school grounds to see where we're having runoff problems, where there's erosion, where we've got, you know, flooding issues that are going straight into storm drains with hot volumes of water and then getting spit out into our local creek, you know, doing an evaluation of our actual footprint at the school. And then the kids are in groups and they have to do a project where they, you know, explain what the problems are and how we might fix those, and, you know, who do we need to write to fix that? Who do we, you know, how do we go about solving those particular problems? And they love that unit because we're outside a lot, but they produce a lot of product. They have to write things. They have to, you know, diagram how they would change things. They have to figure out, you know, how would they approach writing the right individuals to start changing these issues. So it ends up being a really inclusive project where we're pulling from all their subjects to get this product at the end. So I found that to be a really fun way, and it could be any subject matter, of course. That's the examples with, you know, the Chesapeake Bay and water quality.
Right, and that's in a couple of weeks we're going to be talking about integrating MAEOEs and the meaningful watershed experiences components of it. Ways of doing that and incorporating it into your curriculum so that you are producing, because as I'm seeing in your students are producing, you know, that is important to parents as well. So Sarah has mentioned schools and parents as well, to back up Kanika in her comment about how do we get our students outside and making sure that they're learning. All right. And I'm noticing that it's 4:40 already. So we've had a great conversation. Very quickly in the chat or in the Jamboard. I think I'm still sharing my screen, or maybe not. Am I still sharing my screen? Yes, I am. I want you to think about, you know, what, after all that we've seen, take a look at these pictures. What are you noticing? Routines, preparations, student successes, just very quickly. Thanks, Alana, for putting that Jamboard in again. In
No
the chat
problem.
or on the Jamboard, you could just cover up those photos. What are you seeing? And this is going to lead us into next week's training session. Hands-on learning, yes. Bright colors, yes, the shade. Shade is always important, right? Workspaces are marked. There's learning going on. There's a delineation of walkways and paths. And these are just a few examples of actual classrooms in use, outdoors being used as a classroom. Looks like they have a job, so that's some of those rules and responsibilities. And Andrea had mentioned, I think, Andrea, I know you had mentioned in the lanyard, I don't know if they had their responsibility, if they had a rule on there, like what they were supposed to be doing, like a
That's a great
task.
idea. I thought with
Yeah.
higher level kids, like regular high school kids, I would give them clipboards with their stuff on it, and then they would be able to write.
Great. Students are dressed appropriately for the occasion, thanks to that. And Jan, you're saying signs to indicate yes. Signs are important. Defined workspace. There's an ownership element there. Yep. And there's an application of learning. Give me one more minute. It's inviting, so it's a space that is inviting, definitely. And the students are doing the work, and they are active and they are engaged. All right. All great ideas. And I want you to keep thinking about this over the next week. If you're joining us next week again, think about all these ideas. If you're going to watch a recording, still think about the ideas and watch the recording. You can participate because the Jamboards will be up and available to you even as you're watching the recordings. So even though it's not as fun to participate with a group, you can still participate. With that, I'm going to switch over to our last poll for the day because I know it is 4:45 and I want to see how you're feeling. Any questions for me before we close out the day? Any questions that are lingering? I know we haven't answered everything today and we don't have all the answers all the time, but is there anything lingering you'd like to shout out or pop in the chat? Different types of outdoor classrooms. Yes, thank you, Allison. Alice, I just called you Allison, but didn't mean to. Alice. All right, if there are no questions, yes, I'm going to put it in the poll thingy here. But before I let you take the poll, I'm going to just kind of give you this outline for the next 4 weeks. These are the 4 training sessions that are coming up. Next week is going to focus on curriculum. The 3rd is going to focus on evaluating school grounds and looking at what your space looks like. The 8th, we're going to talk about integrating MAEOEs and planning for learning outdoors. And the 10th, we're going to hopefully make a plan, or you're going to make a plan for the next school year, probably, because it'll be close to the end of the school year, to get you started strongly at the beginning of next school year. And if you haven't, you have all registered because you got the email, but Alana, if you can put that register link in the chat box, if you want to share it with anyone that hasn't heard about these trainings, go ahead and share that link with anyone that you would like to. And with that, I want to see your reactions too, if they've changed. So what is your experience? Would you consider taking your class outside? Still not sure how you're going to do this, or you want to learn more? Thanks, Alana. And for those of you who want to learn more, I hope you're going to join us in the coming weeks and or watch the recordings. And if you have questions, concerns, thoughts that you want to share, you can always email us at Green Schools. Email me at greenschools@mayo.org, and I'll put that in the chat. And for those of you who are considering taking your classes outside, I'm very, very happy. And hopefully you will come back as well and start to share more ideas as they come to you as you're learning more about this process. Great, thank you. And with that, I'm going to let you off about 10 minutes early because I know it's been a very long day for y'all. Please come back, email us with information. And again, thank you for joining us. It's been great talking with you. And I hope you learned a little bit today, and we will continue to learn together over the next few weeks.
Mary, can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
Are we getting, is there CECs that are going to be offered to this?
There's no CECs, just a certificate of participation. We are working on getting an MSDE credit, but we did not have that in time for this training. So
okay,
I can't offer that, but I can offer you a certificate that you can give to your administration or use on a Green Schools application.
Yeah, no worries. I think I'm going to do both, like give it to my admin and then get the Green School thing going.
Yeah, because you spend an hour and a half and you know, it's an active training. So hopefully in the future we'll have that MSDE credit. It just didn't happen for this one. MAEOE, what does MAEOE stand for? It's the Maryland Association for Environmental and Outdoor Education. And if you go to mayo.org, you can find our website and look us up. We have lots of different things. We, different events and member nights and things like that. So if you are not too familiar with us, please check us out. All right, I'll be on for a while if you want to stay on and chat. If not, go enjoy the weather, go enjoy the outside, or just go enjoy your evening. Take care. Have a nice night. I'll talk to you soon.
I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
We registered to attend more than one of the trainings, but we can't make it. Is that okay? And we just watch it, the recording after?
Just watch the recording. If you attend, they'll send you the certificate. If not, but if you want to, let me know that you watched the recording, we can chat about that. So if you need a certificate, but yeah, definitely watch the recordings. That's why we're doing this. We want to get the word out. We want you to.
And so even if we didn't register for all of them, like I registered for this one and two others, but I could still watch.
Oh yeah. They're free. They're going to be on our website on that page. On the professional development page. Please watch them. You don't have to register.
Okay, cool. And I can share that with my staff? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to share the deck with you, the PowerPoint. You can share that. There's talking points in it. I want you to share it with your staff. We want you to do this.
I know that's one of my big we are a sustainable school and we're departmentalized, but my 3rd through 6th grade science teachers don't take on the role that I feel like they should. And I mean, I can't force them, obviously.
Right.
But maybe encourage them a little bit more to be.
Absolutely. Yep. And the presentation's done for you. I'll put a template for the Bye-bye, Andrea. I'll put a template in the recording file so that you can use the Jamboard if you want. Everything's done for you. So please share it with your staff. Definitely.
Yeah, but I bet you're the only one that where your librarian is here. So.
Uh-oh.
Mary, is there a similar organization in Virginia?
Hi. I'll see you, Lauren. Yes, I think, but I don't know offhand what it is. I'm sure there is. So I would look up Virginia environmental educators. Google that and see if there is. Oh gosh, I don't know offhand, but I know there is.
I'll check it out. But if you find out,
yes,
let me know if I don't find it. Thank you very much.
Send me an email and just say, hey, did you find something? Or I found something. Just remind me.
Okay.
And I'll look too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, Mary, I just want to say thank you. I know I have, seems like a lot of experience, but
That's
being
awesome.
preschool teachers and the parents are millennials. And so what I did this year was we teach scripture once a week in this classroom in a liaison rotating position of 3 people. And they put an outdoor classroom in. So what I did was I decided I would do YouTubes. And what that did for us was when we sent home the parent letter about the scripture lesson and keywords, then they had a YouTube link. And you know, millennials, I have 4 kids, I have 13 grandkids from newborn to age 13. And they use this thing all the time. And if you tell them the preschool video that their kid saw was 2 to 3 minutes, it's a doable time. And they're very willing to go and use that link in the car even and say, you know, we're going off to Costco, but why don't you watch that and tell me again what you learned? Like, what's your favorite thing? And it's just a powerful tool. So the media thing from the pandemic turned out to be, I think, a really good addition to the fact that these preschool parents are very motivated. You know, they're parochial preschool, they have to pay. It's not a public preschool. So they're really motivated. And I think it's kind of exciting because, well, I mean, that's the age of my grandkids, but it's just exciting to see that I think the pandemic has given people a great appreciation for the fact that if nature education and having a green campus and an outdoor classroom and a teaching garden is integrated, people want that because they realize that you shouldn't be on this all the time.
Right.
And I think that health component came in and also mental health and, you know, bringing nature home, Doug Tallamy and all the pollinators crisis stuff. And kids want to do things. We planted milkweed in their classes with the teaching unit on seeds. And so those little milkweed things, those little tiny, we're going to put in that milkweed garden and we're going to put a label for each class.
That's so exciting.
Is not going to go up and say, that's my milkweed, because some of them didn't come up. But they'll say, that's my class. And I think that's a connection right there. It's very powerful. So I feel really fortunate to be able to be in this position because I don't know, it just turned out that way.
That's awesome. And I'm so excited for your excitement. And
Yeah,
you know,
it is very exciting.
It's a great thing. And like you said, the videos, a lot of the green centers and environmental centers throughout the pandemic have produced a lot of different videos.
Oh, yeah.
And that's been a nice
And
resource.
I think it's also, you know, the fact that you have kids that get sick, they miss the lesson, or, you know, like New York City schools said they're not doing snow days anymore. You're going to be home on Zoom. And so I think our preschool, we're going to move to that because we are rated one of the top 3 in Harford County. And we want to stay at that level. And I think that connectivity, kind of a holistic approach to use all the tools we have is good because we're 50 years old. Actually, we're 52 years old, and we have 3 generations of preschool people. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yep, yep.
You know, and it's kind of an amazing thing. I'm really amazed at how faithful or fidelio, you know, they're just like, they just love this preschool. So I'm really happy. And I'm happy we have a 12-acre campus.
That is exciting.
So we have a lot of space to continue to spread out. The monarch butterfly thing came out because our Susquehanna Parish did 11 churches up there in the upper Chesapeake western side. And it's growing. I mean, I'm excited. I've done monarch butterfly festivals for about 30 years, different nature centers. And it's growing. It's like a noble thing. They want to know what the t-shirt is. They want to buy the t-shirt. I'm like, I'm at the point of handing out seats. So we're working on it, but I'm happy. Anyway, I really enjoy listening and watching all these different comments because it takes me back, but it also takes me forward because, you know, we have to hire teachers every year. There's a teacher going back to the Philippines, and there's a teacher that's leaving to go down to Florida with her husband who's in the military. So we are always taking on new people, and we don't know that every teacher is, like you said, you know, who here is afraid to go outside? We might have teachers who love the idea of going to really top preschool and working, but so I think it's really great. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to get the certificate and I want to continue working on how to make this